Hi everyone, thanks for dialing into the webinar. We are still waiting for a few participants to dial in, so let's just give them a few seconds and then we can kick off the webinar as soon as possible. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone dialing in from around the world. My name is Ling and I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing at I4E. So first of all, welcome to the Innovation for Electrification Showcase webinar. It's organized by I4E. And a little bit of background on the Innovation for Electrification Showcase webinar, also known as I4E. We created this showcase series to bring our members a step closer to potential collaborators by giving them the opportunity to directly showcase their products and solutions. So with that, I'm happy to kick off the third edition in 2023 on the topic of digitalization and optimization. And this has been made possible with the support of the Strategic Partnership Technology in Africa, also known as SPTA. And also for your information, the topic is part of a wider campaign that we launched in October. So just yesterday, we launched a newsletter on the same theme. So you can also check out the contributions there as well. So in this webinar, you'll be hearing from our members who have integrated different types of digital solutions as part of their DRE business model. So there are different topics that will be addressed here. You'll be hearing about a device that integrates consistent power with internet connectivity. You'll also be hearing about TV, energy and satellite solution. There's also IoT-enabled energy management systems in the mix. There's process automation, digital tools for inverters, and remote monitoring. Please note that the session will be recorded, so don't worry, you will get the recording and the presentations on our website as soon as that's available. So this is the agenda for today. As I mentioned, there's myself who's giving the opening remarks, and it will be later be facilitated by my colleague Deepak. And we'll be hearing from 6 of our members. Well, we've got William from Rescue, we've got Guy from Apalia 24, James from Arnergy, Emilie from Upia, Cyprian from Fronius Solar Energy, and last but not least, Keno from Ecofi. And there's also a section of the webinar that's on question and answer. So if you do have questions, feel free to post that in the chat box, and we'll try to get to that as soon as possible. About I4E. So for those of you who don't know us, we're the Global Association for the Decentralized Renewable Energy Industry. We represent over 200 members from 55 countries and spanning 3 continents. If you do want to get to know our members closer, we do have on our website something called the I4E matchmaking platform, and you can learn more about our members there. So here we have the I4E members' regional focus and expertise. As you can see, most of our members are highly active in Africa, but not only, we also have members active in Asia and Latin America. At I4E, we are technology agnostic. So this means that we are neutral in terms of the technology that our members offer. So it could be from anything from bioenergy to small hydro to small winds to power components to energy storage and solar PV. And our members also work on 2 different system types, standalone and mini grid solutions. So yeah, and this slide is about the services that we offer. So as mentioned, we're a business association and we represent over 200 members, and we offer 4 main service lines. The first one being business and market development, the second, capacity building, the third, policy and advocacy, and last but not least, communication and marketing. So if you do, at the end of this webinar, and you do feel like getting in touch with us, feel free to do so. We'll be happy to explain a little bit more what we can offer as well. So with that, I wish everybody an insightful webinar, and I'll pass the floor over to my colleague Deepak, who will be facilitating the webinar. Deepak, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ling, for this warm welcome. And dear audience, a warm welcome from my side as well. My name is Deepak Mahapatra. I'm Senior Officer, Business and Market Development at the Alliance for Rural Electrification. I have the pleasure today to be your host to facilitate the I4E webinar on digitalization and optimization. I do not have to speak more. My colleague Ling has already expressed everything. So without further ado, may I have the pleasure to welcome the first speaker onto the stage, Mr. William Pollen, the Strategic Advisor at Rescube. William, you got 8 minutes for your pitch. You can begin now. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Just checking you can all hear and see me okay? Great.
Yes, loud and clear, yeah.
Fantastic. All right, I'll jump in. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. As Deepak said, I'm an advisor to a company called Rescube. I'm new to them, so much like you, I'm going to learn a bit on this call as well. So any of you that have any super tricky questions, you may see me frantically looking down at my user manual, trying to answer them for you. But I'm trying not to get too techie on this. I'm going to keep it quite high level. What we're going to talk you through today in the next 7-8 minutes is a solution to a long-standing problem, particularly in Africa. And I'm going to frame it actually around Africa, although it's a global problem and is applicable across much of the developing world. Africa is where I have particular experience, and I know many of you on the call will be dialing in from the continent. So I hope this resonates, particularly rural Africa, as you would expect for a theme from this body. The problem that we're going to address is power outages and the impact that has on people's lives on a daily basis. And the biggest secondary effect being when it also takes out your access to the internet, whether that be Wi-Fi or broadband. And I mean, many of you, I'm sure, are sitting in South Africa today, you're still dealing with massive issues around load shedding and power outages. So this is a huge issue for you on a day-to-day basis, not even rural Africa, that's in the main cities across South Africa. So I know it will be close to home and close to heart for many of you. But if we look on a bigger picture, you know, there's over 1 billion people and over 10,000 charities are affected by outages every day, or loss of power or connectivity. And that means that there's a huge impact on economies, on livelihoods, health, education, well-being. What we want to do as Rescube is reduce this by 1% year on year for the next 10 years. That's our vision, that's our mission, that's our drive, and our focus is to look at healthcare, education, professional services, so particularly trying to bank the unbanked financial services, and of course energy. And our priority groups, our thematic focus is women and youth, as they are so often marginalized and left behind in rural communities. So that's the problem we're trying to solve. Let's take a moment for those that aren't sitting in African contexts or in other markets to imagine life without the power and the connectivity that we're enjoying just to have this very call. Next slide, please. Let's look at the way we live our lives today. Power and connectivity give us access to healthcare. You dial into virtual appointments. You can access online resources. It gives you access to education. No matter how many of us took our kids through education during COVID online. It gives you access to banking. How many of us do all of our transactions or are included in the wider society and economy because we can access banking online? Of course, it gives you access to light and power, to heat your homes, to cook, and to live the lives and make it so comfortable and keep us moving forwards and give us everything that we're used to, particularly the light and the power. And the final one, if you just click through there, is of course being able to be connected on the wider sense of the world. Now that image there of people shaking hands, that might be you concluding a deal at work, having used internet or power, or it might just be connecting with other people, that human need to be in touch with friends, family, communities. If you can move on from here. Yeah, so let's have a look at what this might mean, not only from an African context about being connected across the continent, But let's take it right down to a micro community level, because imagine not being able to contact or be in touch with people in your communities. If you could click through, please. Just the people living around you. Think of the amount of times that you transact, engage with your local communities, and imagine them being cut off from that and the problems that that would create for you, both socially, in terms of your mental health, physically, economically, and the impact on your family. Next slide, please. Global facts. So you can see there on the map sort of areas where there's the biggest issues. You don't need to read all of that, but issues where there's connectivity and power outages. And let's look from, as I said, from an African context alone, we have 6 million people lacking reliable power. The knock-on effect is life expectancy is much lower, 61 years versus 80 from a UK perspective where I'm sitting. And infant mortality rates far higher than they should be. And then you look at the economic impact in terms of cutting out marginalized communities and women and youth that are often in the rural areas. Only 1 in 3 women across the continent have access to the internet. And people can't even put a number on the cost in terms of the economic cost. So the solution we're bringing you today from Rescube is a very simple out-of-the-box product. It arrives as you see it there. It is literally a box. You take it out of a box, you put it on your floor, you plug it in, and it will kick in automatically before any power outage or internet drop takes place. So if you're a home worker and you're working at home, it means you get seamless work. You don't get outages, you don't lose your work, you don't get loss of connectivity. Your systems don't have to back up constantly. And you take it all the way through to people working in conflict or earthquake areas or places that are war-torn and they're delivering critical services, particularly people in the health sector, be it giving operations or healthcare. And they know that their systems are going to work, they're not going to cut out. The box itself will last for, depending how many people are plugged into it, will last for many, many hours, potentially even days. And what it does is it kicks in as soon as there's an outage. There's a battery in there that will give you hours or days of battery, as I said, until depending how many people are plugged in at once. And then the 4G will take over and mean that you have continual connectivity to the internet. So it's an incredibly simple but brilliant piece of tech. Inside, there's all sorts of brilliant gadgetry, and it's taken a long time to make and test. But it is now being used across a number of markets, particularly clients in Africa is our real focus, in South Africa. Next slide, please. How does it work? Very quickly, we're going to whiz through these. So next one, I've mentioned that it's got a battery inside and it takes over, the 4G kicks in. And you can see here that immediately that means that you get sort of resilient 4G internet when there may be unreliable or no connectivity. And as I said, it's very smart. It knows, it's constantly monitoring the traffic on the grid and effectively knows when an outage is likely to occur. So it's primed to back up. It doesn't have to kick in 3-4 seconds after an outage. It's just seamless, so you lose nothing. So if you're working on a document, you're doing a transaction, you're in the middle of a lesson, you're in the middle of an operation, you lose nothing, not half a second of connectivity or power. It takes away the threat of the power cuts altogether, and it means that you're operating on a much more secure system. So if you are working from home, this is not a rural context, but it gives you the confidence that it's secure if you're doing something confidential, maybe working in a legal setting, financial services, etc. There's also support provided for it, remote support, so you can call for help at any time. So you're not alone, you don't have to figure it all out yourself, which takes away any need for sort of a support department from your work or from your community. Next slide, please. What makes it really different to the competition? Just 2 or 3 things I want to highlight. The remote management, so that means you get the remote support. If you have a problem, you can call up, you can be web chatting, you can contact for help. There's automatic failover, as I said, so as soon as you have an issue in your area, be it on power or connectivity, it'll kick in and provide the backup and the support needed. And then for those that want to use it in a more professional capacity, it has been certified for home use. So you're not using some sort of bit of kit with wires all over the place. It's not going to explode. It's not going to cause a home domestic appliance issue or a fire or a health hazard. And it's certified for those that need to talk to regulatory bodies if you're working from home and you're overseen by some sort of regulatory body. Next slide. One other thing I want to highlight is the latest version of the product has solar charging. So particularly for our rural communities that we're thinking of today, they can take that to their homes and it can be solar charged. So it's resilient, it's reliable, and it's affordable. So it can be plugged in and used with existing solar solutions that they may have in the community. Next slide, please. Let's have a quick look at the SDGs, because this is critical, a big part of what's driving investment from the development institutions into Africa. And you can see there the main 6 that it touches on. Affordable clean energy being critical for any health and all aspects of life. The good health and well-being, that's essentially healthcare. The quality education we've touched on, meaning that communities don't get left behind just because they're in the dark, they don't get left behind, and that's a critical factor. And the gender equality, the countless research showing that women make up the majority of those in the rural settings and get left behind, both socially, they're not included, but also economic opportunities to launch their own businesses and to be included in the things like the banking sector. All of which leads to reduced inequality, SDG 10, and just having power and connectivity allows others to provide their roles, be that charities, NGOs, as I've touched on, out in the fields, in conflict and remote regions. So it allows other partners to achieve their goals, which indeed is SDG 17. In summary, it's a very complex product solving what is at heart a simple problem that's been around for far too long. And we believe that connectivity and power are really basic human rights and not a luxury that should only be afforded in the West or in the global North. And our vision is a world where every home, regardless of geography, is connected and illuminated, and no one gets left behind or in the dark. We recognise at Rescue we can't do this alone. We're on a journey, but we need scalable and affordable solutions, particularly the power solution that we're bringing to the table to address not only healthcare and social issues and economic ones, but the SDGs and to provide rural electrification and the critical role that this could play going forwards. We have a social enterprise, Rescue Social Enterprise, which we must mention as it works closely with NGOs and development agencies. We're just launching that as we speak. And the idea is to provide NGOs, charities, people out in the field in remote regions, the rescue box, the solution at cost and where possible and no cost if subsidised. So I hope that's given you a good feel for the product. There's a list here of, if you just click through this very quickly, other ways the product could be used. There's so many instances. As we've launched it, we've found more and more areas where it could be used. Just a snapshot there for you. Of other areas where it could be used, but our focus, as I said, is the healthcare, education, financial services, and energy for now. And as I mentioned, it is in the field already. It is being used by clients. We're getting great feedback. A few of them can be seen on the next slide. You may recognise some of these names, but some of them in UK, some of them are in Africa, and there's others that aren't on there that we're talking to at the moment. So we're very excited about it. We hope you are too. Do have a look on the Rescue website if you'd like to know more. But thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, William, for taking us through what Rescue has to offer. Dear audience, please do not hesitate to ask your questions to the speakers using the question function that you have here on GoToWebinar panel. And while you're asking the question, please make sure to name the speaker that you're asking your question to, so that I can then redirect your questions to the speakers. Thank you so much, William. We can move over to the next speaker. Mr. Guy Barjoko, Managing Director, Apelia 24. Guy, the floor is all yours. Please, let's try to stick to the time of 8 minutes. Thank you. Guy, can you please unmute yourself if you can?
Oh, thank you very much, Jack. My name, is Guy Barjoko. Hi to everyone. I'm from Congo, DRC, and I'm the founder and CEO of Apelia 24. We founded the company with a few of our friends around the idea of scaling solar home systems. So DRC has everything of the issues and problems that William was actually describing earlier. We are one of the least electrified country in the world, with 9 out of 10 of our population with no electricity whatsoever, in a country that is absolutely massive. And like a basket case of what needs to be done. So we were actually funded a few years ago by the Development Bank of Southern Africa, with one target is basically to show a profitable way to scale electricity in Africa. Next, please. By doing that, what we found out, is that the appliance number one that people want in Central Africa and most of Africa is actually the television, right? The problem is that television, of course, is expensive and comes with the challenges of its own. So what we do is that we bring under one single subscription fee 3 things: the TV set itself, We bring the solar energy to power the TV set, and we bundle all that with a satellite content. So clients get to basically pay one single subscription for all three solutions, and all they have to do is to basically enjoy and watch the TV. Next, please, Deepak. So in a nutshell, we come with this triple play offering where you get TV, energy, and satellite content as a subscription. We actually import, transport, ship, install, deploy at client customer site, and then we give them what they want best. Is of course they always like to watch the Premier League, but what they always ask for is the national content. No electricity means no news, no content on what's going on in the capital city, and this year in Congo is like an election year, and it's always a big challenge when most of 90% of the population cannot actually see what's going on and the debate around the election. That's a massive one too. Next, please, Deepak. And by doing this work of ours of trying to solve the last mile challenges, trying to make sure that clients are not only buying in drove, but we are scaling profitably. We ended up becoming a off-grid TV operator in our own right, because unlike some of the model you've seen elsewhere, the TV content really can actually be incredibly expensive and completely out of reach for most of our clients. We're talking about clients that are making around $100 to $150 a day. So for them, they would love to enjoy TV, but it's too expensive, the energy is impossible, and then the content is key. So at first, we were approaching all these TV operators that you know of. DSTV is probably the most famous one, but the issue is that these clients of ours cannot afford that. So what we ended up doing is to provide them with our own content, with local content in Lingala, Swahili, Chiluba, or local languages, and we're doing the same, of course, everywhere we go. Next, please. So this is what we do. It's always a pleasure of ours when we get to be the first digital solution and tech brought to these kids and the next generation, and of course we do more than that. Next, please, Deepak. So in terms of the digitalization, we are working, of course, on the new initiatives. Starlink is like coming to Africa. That was supposed to come to be deployed this year. It was going to be next year, and there's a couple of things we are doing with them. Next, please, Deepak. We are working with the Postal Service in DRC to solve the last mile electrification issue. Next, please, Deepak. The issue, of course, is the same. No digital is possible without electricity, without power. So what we do is actually we come up with a one cabin, one cupboard where we connect the entire office post. Next. It looks like this. Even almighty Elon Musk didn't think of the way of powering, despite of Tesla and powering the Starlink pizza box. And it's a massive challenge because, of course, it's impossible to. It's actually quite power hungry, and we are leveraging that as an offer, as a one-stop shop offer to connect the rest. Next, please. So Apalia is part of a group where we have a sister company powering towers. We have in DRC something like 10,000 towers, and these towers are mostly electrified by gensets, as you would know. The massive challenges being that solar is difficult to deploy, something difficult to understand, difficult to maintain somehow, and the client do not always know how to best deploy them. So next, please. So we came up with a solution for them, whereby we are actually connecting them from a nearby site, and we are offering them like a turnkey solution for all the upcoming 4 and 5G super power hungry technology. And here too, we are doing exactly what we always do, is a turnkey solution whereby the client off-taker doesn't have to do much. We bring it all, we connect, sign a service level agreement, and the right PPA, and off we go. Next, please. So, of course, in terms of the SDGs, this is powerful because we reduce 80% of the actual diesel consumption. They go green, and they're happy to do so. And we solve issues such as we can actually connect from the nearby areas and not being necessarily into the premises. Next, please. So yes, here we go. Basically, our what we would call our investment phases is that Africa is actually going through a massive demography boom. These young kids are flocking with their families to the urban areas, not only the capital city per se, but in all kind of cities around their villages. Our government and Central Africa government mostly are struggling to give them to provide them with the right infrastructure, and we see a massive, of course, opportunity to provide that infrastructure, and especially with the digital economy all around us. Distributed energy is key, and these new generation are waiting for innovative business model. We believe that this off-grid TV operators of ours that we are deploying now in DRC is a key to do that. We are looking for ways to do so in other countries, but open for business. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Guy, and I really appreciate the little alarm that you put for yourself to mark the timing. It's very, very nice. Thank you so much for walking our audience through what you have to offer. And without further, yes,
wanted to thank the SPTA for being a sponsor to joining the ARE, and thank you to them. This has been interesting, and we are really thankful. Bye bye.
Thank you, Guy, for the kind words, and I hope my colleagues at SPTA are listening to us now, and if not, then I will pass the compliments to them. Thank you so much. Can we move over to the next speaker, please? And dear audience, please do not forget to ask your questions. Mr. James Fabola, Chief Finance Officer from Energy. The floor is all yours. You've got 8 minutes to shoot. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Hi, everyone. My name is James. I'm Chief Financial Officer at Energy. I'm here to tell you a little bit about what we do at Energy. So Energy is a leading distributed renewable energy company based out of Nigeria. Was founded in 2013 by the founder, Femi Adeyemo, essentially to solve what has been at the existential problem, which is the energy gap in Nigeria. Since then, we've made quite a bit of dent in the market, installed 6.5 megawatts peak of solar capacity, almost double that in storage, and so far we have customers across 31 of the 36 states in the country. We successfully closed our Series A funding in 2019, where we raised $9 million from investors such as Breakthrough Energy Ventures, Northfund, Electrify, and All On, an impact fund seeded by Shell. I wouldn't want to bore you with this slide, but this slide essentially is a pictorial representation of the energy challenge in sub-Saharan Africa. A lack of access to electricity. Some of my colleagues have touched on that. The energy demand is double what we have. In Nigeria, for example, the estimated annual economic losses due to lack of energy is about $29 billion. And we're the largest consumer of oil-fired generators in Africa. Next slide, please. In terms of our differentiating standpoint, right? So we focus on providing mid-sized solutions. So when you look at the value chain, you have the guys who play in the solar home system space, on the smaller end, the Pico Solar, the lanterns, and then you have the big guys who focus more on C&I, providing power to large-scale consumers involved in manufacturing, FMCG, etc. So we play in what we call the missing middle. Our standard solution is what we call Energy 5000, which is the 5 kilowatts, and we're able to deploy solutions in multiples of 5. up to 45 kVA. And then in some instances, we're able to roll out bespoke solutions from 100 kVA to 500 kVA. And at different points in our lifetime, we will be opportunistic about opportunities in the telco sector. So I think a few years ago, we developed a bespoke solution called the Telco 95S to serve telco consumers looking to roll out towers in both rural and urban areas. Again, this represents what today is a challenge. So I think the first slide I tried to give a more regional view from an Africa standpoint. This slide zooms in on what the energy challenges are, especially around the grid. Between 2018 and 2021, there were 30 grid collapses. I think it's even probably doubled since then. Minimum downtime hours 1,440, and then the maintenance required to get the various public grids up and functional is about 60%. So I think this, coupled with recent macro events, have sort of strengthened the value proposition for solar. So I'm not sure how many Nigerians are tuned in today, but again, when you combine high diesel prices, which at some point crossed 1,000 naira per liter, and then the recent fuel subsidy removal, right? I think solar is at a point now where it's definitely cheaper than diesel and cheaper than petrol as is. So the value proposition for solar has never been stronger. And that's why we're quite excited about the opportunity and how we can scale that and ensure we drive solar adoption in Nigeria. Next slide. In terms of how we think about digitalization and optimization, I think for us, we think critical to having a sustainable, profitable business model is leveraging technology as much as possible, right? And today we see 4 key pillars of that, which I will touch on briefly after this slide. One is data-driven insights. Next is digital payment, being able to facilitate payments. 3 is remote monitoring, and then the 4th is technical delivery. Next slide. So I think what we think is peculiar to the customer segments we play in is we consider them to be quite knowledgeable, quite insightful, and in search of value for money, right? So we quickly figured out that it's not okay to just come and sell them solar as a product. They want to be able to understand it. They want granular details on cost savings, energy savings, optimization, right? So we quickly realized that our solution was one that had to come with a strong IoT, an interface where we built a proprietary platform called SolarBase, which is integrated to our product, which is both mobile and desktop based, where our customers from time to time are keen to get a sense of what their consumption is. They want to be able to track patterns, they want to be able to drive energy optimization, and we wouldn't have been able to do this without technology. If you ask most of our customers today, they would say this is what makes us stand out, and this is arguably the biggest value proposition to them over the last few years. So the ability to draw insights, analyze data, provide them with information that they can work with is something we've been able to do quite well at Energy, and we continue to drive. Next slide. Payments. As we know, payments is quite key. So on one hand, it speaks to functionality, but on the other hand, it also speaks to credit risk mitigation, right? I think up until recently, bank transfer was the predominant digital channel. I would argue still is, but we've started to go beyond that. I mean, technology was also critical in ensuring that a lot of the banks are integrated to the central database needs and were able to make seamless transfers, right? But over the last few years, we've also gone a step further and integrated with various payment gateways, so usual suspects, Paystack, Flutterwave. We continue to see innovation in the digital payment space in Nigeria and across the globe, and we're always on the lookout for potential partnerships. We think on one hand, this makes the payment process seamless for our customers, but we've also seen that it's critical in reducing default risks, because if a few years ago, if customers had to walk into banks to make payments, I think between, despite the willingness to pay, just the discomfort in going through that would have been a bit of a stumbling block. But digitalization continues to help us drive seamless payment processes, and we're seeing that help in improve collection rates. Next slide. Remote monitoring. So here again, this is more around risk mitigation. When we roll out our system, so we have 3 engagement models with our customers, right? So it's either outright sale, which is cash sales. We have the lease to own, where they pay over a period of time, and at the end, ownership is transferred from energy to the customer. And then you have energy as a service, which is more or less an operating lease, where they pay us based on consumption. So this is maybe less relevant in outright sale for the point I'm about to make. But for the lease to own and energy as a service, right? I think the ability to be able to switch off the systems remotely in the event where customers have defaulted in payments is also one that has reduced the risk of default, right? And also just being able to troubleshoot remotely and figure out what problems has helped us to reduce the OPEX spend if we had to send our staff or third-party installers or repair resources to customers every time. So this has helped shorten lead time, reduce cost of maintenance, and also helps us shut down systems remotely in the event of default. Next slide, please. And then the final piece where we're excited about how we leverage digitalization and optimization is technical delivery. It essentially is around system planning and design and operations and maintenance. Again, this has been a huge driver of reducing OPEX costs around this, which again is critical to what we do and ensuring our customers continue to get the best service. Next slide. Thank you. So I think to wrap up, Energy, we continue to drive innovations around technology, digitalization, optimization. We think is critical to building sustainable business models. And we're happy to engage customers looking to procure one of our systems and tell them how they can enjoy the benefits of using our systems. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, James, for this very impactful presentation and telling audience about what you have to offer. Next speaker in line is Ms. Emily Cohen-Bolakia from the Impact Lead at UPIA Technologies Limited. Emily, if you can hear us, please unmute yourself, turn your camera on, and the floor is all yours. You've got 8 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Emily. I work at UPIA. I'm the Impact Lead. UPIA is a CRM for off-grid distribution. We entered the market in 2017 with a mandate to bring more affordability and more flexibility. Initially for SHS, we since expanded with mini grids, carbon credit, e-mobility, informal trades. And so we're a little bit client-led as a platform in the sense that what we do is that we listen to customers' feedback, we sit down, and then if we think something makes sense for the wider community, we develop it, and everybody can benefit from it. And so over the last year and a half, what we heard a lot about was automation, which is the ability to streamline operation by enhancing efficiency and replication. So making repetitive tasks more efficient and more controllable. So what is process automation? For UPIA, it's something that allows for automatic connection between specific actions performed by people and triggered by a specific event. And I'm going to give you a very quick example. So imagine, we can stay on the previous one. But anyway, thank you. So imagine one of your clients has been locked for now more than 90 days. So that would be your specific event. Then you would have an automatic flag that would be added to the contract saying maybe late. And that would be the trigger that would send a task, a notification to the agent of this contract to go back to the client, discuss with him, ask him a certain set of questions and see if the unit needs to be repossessed or if the client will make a payment, etc., etc. So all of that without any human interaction in a way. So we can, yeah, thank you. So why process automation? Because you don't have the time lags, you don't have the human error, so you don't have to rely on people telling you this has been done, now can you go and do this next actions. So reducing lack of efficiencies and at the same time the cost. So why is it important in the off-grid distribution? Well, the sector has became more complex, the players have matured, so from selling one product, they have moved on to selling many different types of products, and having to perform a huge array of after-sales services that didn't compulsorily exist at the beginning. So bigger teams, so more people that need to interact and communicate, larger areas to cover geographically as well, and all of this leading to lengthy processes, often inefficient, and again, very difficult to control. At the same time as the sector matures, the margins are thinner, and so one of the areas where you can reduce your costs is by increasing efficiency. So what is UPF Flow, our automation module? So you have a workflow creator, and I will show you a slide after that will that will make it more meaningful. But you basically drag and drop what is going to start your flow and what are going to be the next steps. And this is based on a ticketing system, so that coordinates the work that needs to be done between people in the field and people at the headquarters or in the warehouses, and also on a set of notifications. So always telling people, okay, you now need to do this, or letting them know that something is being done that they need to know about, including the client, actually. So we've built a lot of workflows, a lot of automated workflows for our clients. And a few takeaways which are important are that, first of all, as a company who wants this, you will need to invest some time. So you'll need to sit down, go through your internal processes, dissect them, identify the inefficiencies, and come up with what your ideal process would be. And that includes, by the way, all of the different scenarios. So the more sophisticated you are, the more scenarios you will have. Typically, a defective unit flow is much more complex if you have to provide a unit, if you're going to lend a unit to the client who has a defective unit at present. So we'll need to know what happens when there's a warranty. What happens when there's no more warranty? Is the client going to pay? Is he going to pay now? Is he going to pay later? So all of this is work that you would need to do. Then you give it to us. We look at it. We make sure we can automate. Oh, sorry, I'm not quite ready. We make sure we can automate. And in most cases we can. Then we implement it, and actually we do recommend when you start this journey of automation, that you start with maybe a couple of flows that are important for you, and once they're well accepted and well used on the ground, then we move on to the next batch of flows. So we do it in phases. That is usually the best way for fast adoption. And then also before we train you. So we train everybody who at some point has to be in that flow so that they know exactly where they stand. I mean, it's pretty easy because you have all these notifications that tells you what you need to do next or what has been done if it's important for your role. But we see it as a bit of a rehearsal before you go live and deploy these new processes. And now I'm going to show you, so we can't see very well, but I just wanted to try to zoom a little bit on this one. So this is a client onboarding flow. And so what I did is that I dragged a ticket at the very top, and you can't quite read, but you have lots of little options at the bottom. So is this ticket going to be put on hold? So it's an agent signing up a prospect, but maybe the prospect is not quite ready to sell yet. So then you would drag something else. It would be a notification that would be sent to a different team to say, contact the client in a month. And then you would link these two, right? So once the agent has signed up this prospect or recorded this prospect information and realizes he's not ready to sell, then the automated next step would be send a notification. Now, if the prospect is ready to go ahead with the sale, then there's a different link that go to a different box that says task, where the agent has a pop-up saying, you know, please record further information for this lead, and then he will do so. Once everything has been recorded, you have another box at the below that that says ticket, where maybe in your flow, you know, this information is sent to customer service to verify the information on the phone with the client, etc., etc. So this is how you built, or this is how we built your flow, according to the information that you have come up with for your ideal scenario. And then the next step, sorry, the next slide, thank you. So that's a defective unit flow, and that's just the beginning, actually. I just wanted to give you an idea of how it would look. But defective unit flow are typically complex flows because you have a lot of people who are actors in that flow. So you would start with the client, you would have customer service, you would have the agent on the contract often, then you would have the warehouse or an inventory team being involved. Then that would be pushed to maybe the repair warehouse. And then bearing in mind all those different scenarios on the side that I mentioned before about warranty or loan units, and then you need to go all the way back to the client. So the defective unit flow can be between 20 and 40 automations, really. But all of this is very personal to your process. So smaller structure would have less players in it. And bigger structure would have more. And for my last 30 seconds, I can just have this this quote that says, "Automation is cost cutting by tightening the corners and not cutting them." So really, the idea of efficiency in this quote. And I think I am early.
Thank you so much, Emily, for walking us through your presentation today. Dear audience, please do not forget to ask your questions, which I can then redirect to the speakers during the audience interaction. So please make sure to ask your questions using the question option on GoToWebinar. Can we kindly move over to the next speaker, please? I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Cyprian Okolo, Technical Sales Advisor for Western Africa at Fronius. Cyprian, the floor is all yours. You got 8 minutes. Thank you. Can you please unmute yourself? No, we're not able to hear you. Excuse us, dear audience. We are experiencing a little technical glitch, but we're on it. Okan, can you kindly confirm that you cannot hear as well, or it's just me?
Yeah, I cannot hear as well.
Okay, thank you. Cyprian, perhaps you remove your headphone, that will work. Okay, if you check your audio panel on GoToWebinar, there is this audio settings, and there you have to choose the input that you are giving with which we can hear you. And while you're doing that, I suggest that we move on to the next speaker, and then we will come back to you. Is that okay? No, we cannot hear you at the moment. Okay, it's fine. While you're sorting that issue out, I suggest we move over to the next speaker, please, Okan. Thank you. May I have Mr. Kino to be on stage, please?
As a test, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, now we can hear you, by the way.
Okay, great. Sorry.
Okay, dear audience,
Sometimes,
excuse us, please, for this glitch. I suggest that we go back to Cyprian. Kino, apologies. We will come back to you in the same order that we have planned for.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, thank you so much for your understanding, and thanks, dear audience, for your understanding. Cyprian, the floor is all yours. Please go.
Thanks a lot. Apologies, everyone. These things tend to happen sometimes. Great. So, like Deepak said, I'm with Fronius, and I'm the technical sales advisor for the Western Africa unit. I work with Fronius, and Fronius is one of the foremost manufacturers of inverters. So my presentation today will be kind of inverter centric. So, of course, as you can see from the slide, I will be dealing with Fronius digital tools. And to put it in context, we would, of course, know that the world is actually going through a significant transformation in the energy sector, where sustainable and renewable energy sources are becoming more and more, accessible and cost-effective. Of course, this is thanks to the integration of cutting-edge digital technologies, just as we've heard from the previous speakers. So in this presentation, I will be briefly exploring how digital innovations like the Fronius digital tools, which I'll be talking about in this present slide, how these digital tools are reshaping the landscape of renewable energy, thereby making them formidable and intelligent companions throughout the entire inverter lifetime. So, taking a glance at the Fronius digital tools, we have what we call the Fronius Solar Start, the Fronius Solar Web, and then of course the Fronius SOS. Now, before I go to the next slide, please could kindly scan through the QR code. I think it should be at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, if you have the opportunity to. This will, of course, take you to the platform of, give you access to the platform of our digital tools, because we don't actually have just 3. I'm just going to concentrate on 3 of them because of time constraints. And then when you have access to this platform, it will, of course, you would have a good feel and real-time feel of all our digital tools. Of course, there are more than 3, but then this appears to be the most salient slides. So now talking about the slides, the apps or digital tools, one by one, we're going to talk about the Solar Start. And I will endeavor, in order to kind of make us appreciate how these apps work, I will endeavor to kind of personify them or give a human feel to them. So just as every human being is birthed or being given birth to, the same thing applies to our inverters. So this happens during the installation and commissioning process of our inverters. And of course, this is made possible by the Solar Start app. Now, coming to the Solar Web, once one is given birth to, it is of course important to be watched, monitored, and nurtured to maturity. So likewise, our inverters. So the entire system can be visualized, monitored, and analyzed so that information and informed decisions can be taken to nurture the system to optimal performance or maturity, humanly speaking, of course. And then we'll now talk about the Solar SOS app. And then, of course, in this regard, I'm certain that every one of us has, at a point in time, fallen ill and, of course, needed treatment. So the SOS app serves as a first aid kit for all our inverters, with which servicing and troubleshooting can be seamlessly executed, thereby bringing our inverters back on track, or more or less making them well again. Now, in the next slides, I am going to be shedding more light on these respective digital tools I've talked about. So let's start off with the Solar Start app. So with the Solar Start app, this app helps the installer to quickly and easily set up all our inverters. So this device can be commissioned directly from a phone or tablet, just as you can see in the picture illustration. And apart from this particular function, it also serves or gives you a direct link to the other digital apps like the Solar Web and the Solar SOS app. Also, what you can achieve here with the Solar Start app is the easy Wi-Fi connection for easy commissioning, easy connection to the web user interface, which actually makes it very, very user-friendly. And of course, eventually registering the product on our website, which is the Solar Web app. Of course, we're going to see that in the next slide. So for the Solar Web app, it is actually a well-known digital platform that is meant for monitoring and analyzing solar energy system. It allows the user to track the performance of their respective photovoltaic system in real time. So thereby giving you complete overview and extensive control of the PV system anytime, anywhere. With this, you can actually access data such as energy production, energy consumption, system status, and then historical performance. With this tool, you or the installer is able to optimize the efficiency and reliability of their respective solar energy installation. And as you can see from the next illustration, not the next slide, please. Of course, you can see that it gives you a wholesome picture of your PV, whether you're feeding into the grid, you've connected accessories, you're charging your battery, you're using one of the accessories to generate hot water, which of course we have in Fronius. You'll be able to picture or have a complete view of the entire system. Great. So now going to the next slide, which is the Fronius Solar SOS. Now, the SOS is actually our solution for technical queries from our installers. It gives them the ability to access service processes, and then this can actually be initiated online using either the app version or the desktop version, just by using the serial number of the inverter or the error code. So in just a few clicks, SOS supports you with troubleshooting services and then ordering of replacement parts if need be. Other services include data query, warranty information, case history, and of course, troubleshooting. Great. So going to the next slide, I'm just going to give you something as like a summary. So summarily speaking, I want to talk about a vision that we have in Fronius, which is the 24 hours of sun. Yeah, so Fronius's vision is basically a future where everyone can achieve energy independence, primarily through the use of solar energy. The idea is that individuals, businesses, and communities have the capability or should have the capability to generate and store their own clean energy, thereby reducing not only their reliance on fossil fuel, but also their carbon footprint. The 24 hours of sun concept emphasizes the transition to renewable energy sources, particularly talking about solar energy. So Fronius believes that by harnessing the energy of the sun, it is possible to power our world around the clock, hence the name 24 hours of sun. And with the use of our digital tools, this will of course help to champion and aid this cause. I'm absolutely sure that I've beat the time, but I hope that I was able to pass the message about Fronius digital tools. Thank you, Deepak.
Thank you so much. That was impeccable time management. Actually, you're 6 seconds before time. So thanks a lot for managing that very well. Okay, we can move over to the next speaker, please. Mr. Keno Orivri, you have the floor now. Please unmute yourself, turn your camera on, and the floor is all yours. And dear audience, please do not hesitate to ask your questions. Thank you. I'm sorry. Sorry, Keno, the audio reception is not quite well from your end. Can you kindly do some adjustments? Yeah.
Yes.
No, there are a lot of disturbances while you are speaking.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
It works. Okay, let's go. Yeah.
Okay. Another technical glitch, but I think we have that behind us. I'm really glad and excited to welcome you all to the presentation today. My name is Ken Orivri. I am the head of service development by EcoFi. Ecofy is a company located in the south of Germany, and we are into remote monitoring solutions for solar water systems. Yeah, Ecofy is just basically it's actually a platform which connects a lot of systems, solar, like I said, solar systems, water systems, and the renewable sector. And if you can see on the next slide, I have an overview. I prepared an overview of the services that Ecofy presents. On the left side, we can see we have data which we collect from inverters, in this case, dealing with solar systems. And the good thing about Ecofy, or the interesting thing about Ecofy, is that we are manufacturer agnostic. That means it doesn't matter what manufacturer or what inverter you have. It can be a Victron system, it can be an OI system, it can be a Pronos system or a Rescue, as long as there's a point to connect and collect data from these systems that can be connected to the Ecofy boxes. And in addition, we can also connect sensors. So what we are doing is that if we have this huge data sets, or this data lake which we collect independent of manufacturers, with customizable or selectable sensors, which we offer also, and all of that is being pushed onto the Ecofy platform. Ecofy is really a platform because we have a plethora of systems of information that is being collected there. Above at the top, you can also see that we don't just use maybe gensets or inverter data. There's also the possibility to connect with other information systems, other APIs, and at the end of the day, what we have is that we have a solution where you have a visualization. You can also we can start from single systems and go all the way to aggregated views and a collection of systems to a field, to a solar field. Some of the features we offer are that we can provide alarms, we provide reports, there's a performance analysis. We also provide remote controlling tools. That means we don't just read the data or the information from the components, but we can also send instructions to these components. On the next slide, I'm just briefly going to touch about the advantages or like what you get if you have such a system in place. Like I said, the main thing we do is mainly integrating several components. That means that from your PV to your inverter to your in the case of water systems, to your water pumps, or to your cooling systems, we cut overhead costs, because if you have all these components talking to each other in an IoT environment, then we are able to track down problems easily. There's an easy troubleshooting mechanism in place. We have preventions. There's also like a direct access to the information, increasing the lifespan of the systems, and most importantly, there's transparency, because if you have an individual manufacturer or an individual device which presents you their data, then they present what they want you to see. But the Ecofy system can actually break that all down and actually give you the nitty-gritty. That means we have like advanced analytics that provide transparency in the system. On the next slide, I'm just going to scroll through some of the features that we have on our platform. There's a dashboard, of course, where you have good visualizations of the data that is being sent through the devices. The platform is totally customizable. That means you can choose what data, what information you want to see. It's mobile, and it's also web-based, so it's really, really accessible. There's also the option to involve several stakeholders in invite several stakeholders to the platform. That means it's not just the owner of the systems, but if you have technicians, if you have maybe people who are financing the systems, there are modes which these people can have access to this information. On the next slide, we talk about our alarms and notifications. We have an alarm system which is top notch, which signalizes when certain thresholds have been passed. When those alarms are released, then we can also get back to the remote control. That means you can set an automation system in place. You have an alarm, and that triggers a control system. There are different ways to receive the alarms: email, SMS, WhatsApp, and in future there's going to be more integrations through several APIs with your CRM systems, your Monday or Slack or whatever that might be. On the next slide, I'm going to talk briefly about our reporting. Just brief through there. We have actually an executive report system in place. That means you can fully customize this report. There's an options for text. You have KPIs which can be displayed. You have your technical charts. You have your scatter plots. It's really, really intuitive to customize these reports, and they can be sent not just on demand, but also you can put it on a weekly, monthly. So there's a full range of customization options. And then on the next slide, I'm just gonna show you guys the overview of what we have. So this is what the Ecofy dashboard looks like. So like I said, we have the options from single systems to a multitude of systems, up to 1,000 systems can be accommodated on the Ecofy systems. On the Ecofy platform, you can group these systems into the logic that best suits the view that you have. There's also an opportunity or a possibility to compare the systems with industry standards, with benchmarks, and giving another level or degree of transparency to the system. So on the next page, on the next slide, I would invite each and every one of you to scan the QR code, and then you can see for yourselves much more of the services that Ecofy presents to you. Like I said, the key of what we do is integration. The key of what we do is also optimization. And because we have the possibility to connect several components from several systems, which are not specific to which are not specific to one single manufacturer, it gives you the possibility and the choice to actually optimize, digitalize your entire system, your entire fleet. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to receiving your questions.
Thank you so much, Keno, for your presentation, and yeah, our compliments to all the speakers for presenting your work, for presenting your products and services. Now I have the pleasure to go to the audience interaction. Can we have the next slide, please? All right, may I invite all the speakers to turn their cameras on so that I can start the Q&A session, please. Thank you so much. So we'll go in the order. And dear audience, if you have any questions still, you can send it to us and we will be taking them now. Okay, so let's go with the first question that is directed to William. And the first question is, your system looks nice and robust, but it also looks quite high-end device. Current users seem to be big companies. How will it address the problem of access to energy in rural areas that you have pointed out in the beginning, please? William? William, are you here with us? Oh, okay. We can move over to the next question in the meantime while William is trying to connect. Well, the next question is for Guy. Guy, there is a question about, have you lobbied support from the government, especially about Starlink? African governments tend to want to regulate internet access. Wouldn't this be a problem for Starlink, which cannot be easily regulated?
As a matter of fact, I know the issue very well, and we are busy with Smart Africa, based in around the next round of African countries joining Starlink. There are some issues around what our good friend Elon Musk wants to do. Maybe we should actually ask Cyprian how Nigeria solved that issue. I think smiling, but yes, there's still some issues to be solved. But we know they are already up and running here.
Sorry to interrupt you, Guy. Very sorry. Cyprian, can I mute you, please? Because there is an audio interruption from your side. Thank you. Guy, over to you. Sorry about that.
So basically, the point I was making is indeed there are some regulatory issues for them to start operating in DRC. They are already operating in a few countries only, and they're way behind the initial schedule to be operating in Africa. But my point really was around the issue of power, right? These systems require as much as 75 watt. So you know, and I'm surprised that they're not coming deployed and packed with some solar solutions Tesla way. So you have to design it all and make it available to people. It's expensive still in terms of cost, and then you have to come up with the power to power not only the actual pizza box as they call it, but the rest, because it doesn't matter having just the internet and not some light and some laptop and smartphone charging as well. So that's what we are doing and trying to bring that as a one package. Technology and energy bundled. So yeah, and maybe I wanted to hear maybe about Cyprian if they do have any experience with that, because you guys have been enjoying the Starlink solutions for what, a few months now.
Yes, indeed, that's true, and it actually came as a very welcome development because of its internet capability in terms of speed and the likes. So so far I know a couple of friends that have had it installed. Myself, I actually use fiber optics based internet connection, so I think that's okay for me. If I didn't have that, I would have of course opted for Starlink, because so far so good. The feedback I've gotten so far has actually been returning positive, basically. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We can move over to the next question. I am looking at you, William. There's a question for you. So your system looks nice and robust, but it also looks like high-end device, which is currently for the users who are big companies. How will it address the problem of access to energy in rural areas that you pointed out in the beginning?
Okay, yeah, at the moment it is an expensive product. The cost is coming down all the time as production comes down. But there is the ticket size we know is too expensive to be a sort of mass solution across sub-Saharan Africa in particular. But that's why we've launched Rescue Social Enterprise, I mentioned at the end of my presentation, to work with NGOs and charities to get mass distribution at cost. And we're talking to development banks, governments, anybody that has funding for this sort of initiative, to then be able to provide it free to those charities and NGOs, but with the cost covered by the development banks and the sort of development institutions, you know, from DFID to the IFC to African Development Bank, etc., as well as private foundations, you know, the MasterCards, the Googles of this world. And then there's also a possibility with local connectivity providers, so your MTN, your Helios Towers, your Vodafones, your Vodacoms, it's in their interest that their customers have connectivity as what they stand for. So there's potential collaboration with their foundations as well. It's not going to be an overnight solution, but it's exactly why we launched the social enterprise side of the business, so that we could provide as many of these units as possible at cost or at no cost to rural communities. But at the moment, it would be, I imagine it would be a stretch for rural communities. It would be more for the professional sort of city-based home workers. But it's exactly why we're doing what we're doing and trying to make it more affordable.
I have a second question for you too, which is about the pricing. So what is the price, and is it within the reach for customers in rural Africa? Well, I think you sort of answered the question, but if you want to throw some light on the pricing directly, how much they cost and so on.
Yeah, I won't actually go into detail on the pricing, Deepak, because it's changing as we shift production from the UK, which is expensive, to a foreign-based production. But needless to say, it's hundreds of dollars at the moment per unit, not tens. Initially it was in the thousands, but it's certainly less than that now. So it's something that it's a moving target, but we're very aware that it's not going to be a mass product at the current pricing, which is why we're doing what we're doing. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. So now we can move to Emily. Emily, there's a question for you. Could you please elaborate on the connection between UPIA and rural electrification technologies, particularly mini-grids? Could you also provide an illustrative example from your client's experience?
Sure. So we have mini-grid clients that use the automation module very much so, because when we work with mini-grid clients, we basically integrate with their smart meters, right? So we need to get the data from the smart meter on the CRM platform, which is UPIA. And so they use UPIA from the very beginning, actually. So from the point where they're going to go through different villages and see if it's a good place to install a mini-grid, they will start using the data collection functionality of UPIA. So they will collect a lot of data, but inside an automated workflow. So the data collection steps would basically follow each other until they reach a conclusion that they're going to install a mini grid here, and then all of the data they have on the potential clients or on the prospects at that stage will then be used again as they become clients. And so there will be this, because we're integrated with the smart meter, there will be this constant connection between what the smart meter needs to know, what we need to know, and the automated steps that happens on the back of that.
Thank you. Perhaps another question for you as well, which is, how do you assist smaller companies to manage and understand their standard operating procedures as they grow? And are you able to manage different SOPs in different areas? For example, Southern Africa will not operate the same as in Central America.
Right. So so in terms, I mean, so the company is the starting point. So they have to know what the internal processes are, and they have to know what improvement they want to add to these. They need to do this. That's the what I was talking about. The inception is the company. We do not consult on what your processes should be in a way. So you need to sit down and you need to know what you want to do and how you want to do it, and then we can kind of translate it. We can translate it in terms of how is it going to look. So we translate physical processes into automated digital processes. That's what we do. And so, yeah, I mean,
yeah, thank you. Next, I would like to move to Keno. Keno, you mentioned about remote monitoring a lot. My question is about how do you translate it in a rural African context? For example, the villagers in a remote area, how would they understand these digital terms, these the switches, the aspects of remote monitoring, and if they even understand, how would you troubleshoot the systems in question?
Okay, thank you very much. The issue of remote monitoring comes up when we have engineers or technicians who don't have direct access to rural areas. So before, because in a lot of our systems in the early days, engineers were sent out to these systems, to these off-grid systems in very remote areas. And when they got there, they really didn't know, or they had to first troubleshoot and find out what was going on, carry out the diagnostic. So what our systems are able to do is that, first of all, it gives you a diagnostic of the entire system. It gives you a troubleshooting mechanism, and we have very, very easy and simple solutions where, as easy as there's a cable that got burnt, you know, there's somebody who's there in the rural area who can connect those cables back together. I say this because these are actually examples that we've had. So we don't need to send an engineer over there or a technician over there for such an issue. So when we are able to make these problems transparent, there are simple solutions that turn off the entire system and put it back on. You know, that works for most of us, for our computers and for most of our devices. Of course, there are more complicated examples, but a large number of the times, the solutions are really simple, especially in the rural areas where it is most needed and where there's no easy access to these devices, or where you have someone coming in there once every month or once in 3 months or whatsoever. So we have those communities have like a training or a competence center for 1 or 2 people with some basic knowledge or some basic technical knowledge, and we're able to translate this to the people in a direct manner, make the system transparent, make it accessible, look for simple solutions, and that's what we are offering.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think the conviction in your statement make it obvious that it's working, and I'm very happy to hear that. Cyprian, looking at you, I have a question. Does Fronius have open APIs, please?
Yes, indeed. We have open APIs, and we want to say that so far we've had very, very successful integration, most especially as it has to do with third-party devices. We're talking about plant controllers, for example, for complex systems. Yeah, for systems that has multiple genset systems. So this is basically talking about the PV genset solutions, for example. Yeah, so we had numerous occasions where had to have this involved, because you would have to have a very easy communication path to be able to achieve this level of control. So, of course, yes, our system includes open APIs that would, of course, seamlessly give access to third-party devices to be able to control our systems. So, of course, query and get information from them.
Thank you so much. And there's a follow-up question. How do you give access to these APIs, by the way?
Yeah, it's basically on requests. So once the request is done, and all we need the tech support staffs would, of course, give access to them. It basically comes in address fashion. So we give them the respective addresses that they need to access, and then with that, everything is usually seamless. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Keno, there is a follow-up question from what I asked you. How do end users access your self-service troubleshooting instructions? If yes, when yes, what format are they provided in?
Okay. We have on our platform a section where there's a display of the errors or possible solutions. So when there's an alert, like we said, there are several features that we offer. So we have an alert feature, we have a reporting feature, And if there are problems that come up with the system, depending on the system settings, there's usually an error message, and we have we have gathered frequent solutions to those problems. So when there's a particular problem that's flagged or that's reported in the system, there are some quick solutions that are displayed on the platform. One can easily apply the solutions, and for more technical problems, like I said, then we have direct support with our engineers on ground, or we can connect them to technicians on ground. If it has to do with the data part, with the sending of the systems or with the signals, that's with us. And then for the technicians on ground, we have a huge network of technicians which we connect our users to. So those are the possibilities that we have.
Okay, thank you. William, are you still there with us? There's a question for you.
Yes, I'm still here. Sorry, my camera's not working great suddenly, but I can hear you fine.
Okay, all right. So the question is, what kind of partnership can you build with telecom companies?
So you'll find that telecom companies, they want to be seen as a part of the solution. You know, it's their space, it's their brand, it's what they stand for, connectivity, and they'll have many areas that they just simply can't reach through their infrastructure is old or has not been built to take into account very rural communities, but they don't want to give up that space and to allow their potential clients to go unserved. So we would partner with them, and in fact, we're talking about doing this in the UK with telecom providers here, where they struggle to reach some communities, or they may have periods where they know they're going to shut down the main system to provide maintenance. And we would give those households, the telecoms companies would essentially pay for the ResCube unit to be given to those households or leased to them for a period of time, so that potential customers are not left behind or left in the dark. So it's all about the telecoms companies wanting to be part of the solution, even when their traditional infrastructure can't reach certain communities. I should have also mentioned on the pricing question earlier, Deepak, it can be paid for on a monthly leasing basis, like you can do with car finance. You know, you lease it over a 2-3 year period, you pay a monthly amount. That is already helping with affordability, making it you know, tens of dollars a month rather than hundreds. So that's one option on the finance side. But yeah, the telecoms partners are, we think, are potentially a key player and distributor going forwards.
Yeah, thank you for this insight and also answering the pricing question, because ultimately that's the question which needs to be answered everywhere, no matter the technology, no matter the company. So looking at the time, I will take only one last question, and this is for Guy. Guy, critical energy infrastructure being controlled by software poses a potential risk to the end users. Joint ventures can buy themselves in, drive up the prices, etc., with no transparency for end users. What is the African strategy to keep control over their critical energy infrastructure, or what should that strategy be, in your opinion? You're on mute, please.
Here we go. This is at the very heart of what we do, and we believe that the way to make it work really is to come up with models where service, maintenance, operation is completely integrated, especially in these deep rural areas where it's always very challenging and difficult, especially in big countries such as DRC, to send teams and technicians. It's critical that you are able to operate and to monitor these with the new tools and the new infrastructure that are being allowed with the low orbit satellite and 4 and 5G technologies. The issue though is that they are power hungry, and you need those the power to always be bundled into this offering. And then once you are connected with both the energy part and the technology, all of a sudden you can do things that were absolutely impossible before. Let me give you an example. On the telco sites, you know that there are over 160,000 towers all over Africa, and the towers, telecom towers that is, and these telecom towers are moving to solar more and more, usually because of the genset. They were hiring security guards on site to ensure that nothing was actually stolen. Today, more and more of these sites are moving into remote control with speakers and lights and camera, so that they can actually chase away and frighten any thieves trying to enter the premises. This was impossible not so long ago in most of these deep area spaces where the client wouldn't be buying power to buy airtime and data. But now it's actually doable. So that's a massive change in terms of just servicing this sophisticated technology completely remotely. And just because you can put the camera, you can put the voice, you can put the lighting, all controlled from one network operating center. So yeah, that's how things are moving. Basically, we know that those skills will always be difficult to get in masses. So the answer is to be able to control it from remotely, to use less skills, but and spread them all over the space.
Thank you so much. So dear audience, now looking at the time, we have come to an end of the webinar. Thank you so much, dear speakers, for taking your valuable time to contribute to the webinar and presenting your products and services with regards to the topic digitalization and optimization. Can we have the last slide, please, open? And dear participants, thanks a lot for taking the time to join the webinar today. And I am happy to announce that we will see you again next time. The last slide, please. In December 14th with the topic of impact on SDGs. Until then, please take care of yourself, stay tuned, and keep up the good work with renewable electrification. Thank you. I'm happy to close the webinar. Thank you.